Hey there, everyone. Ready to dive into a little personal growth magic today? We're taking a deep dive into Shakti Gawain's Living in the Light.
It's a good one.
It is. And I know a lot of you are interested in really tapping into that inner power,
Yes.
creating a life that really reflects you, and that's what this book is all about, right? No more searching outside ourselves for answers.
No, exactly.
It's all about learning to trust that inner wisdom.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Gawain, she didn't start out as this big self-help guru or anything.
Right.
She actually wrote this little booklet for her friends
Oh, wow.
based on, what she was discovering in her own life, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It speaks to the authenticity of her message, I think.
It's like she was living it and she's had to share it with the world. And one of the things she shares, one of the ideas in the book that I just find so fascinating is this concept of the world is our mirror.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard that phrase before?
Absolutely.
So it's basically this idea that everything we experience in our lives,
Right.
the good, the bad, even the stuff that really throws us for a loop,
Yeah.
it's all a reflection of something within us.
It's true, and it's so easy to want to shy away from that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with those more challenging reflections. But Gawain, she really encourages us to approach these reflections with compassion,
Okay.
not judgment.
I like that.
It's not about beating yourself up for your, shortcomings or whatever we want to call them,
Yeah.
but rather just seeing them as opportunities for growth and understanding.
So, for example, if you're someone who constantly butts heads with your partner,
Yeah.
that might be a sign of some unresolved conflict that you haven't quite dealt with yet.
Absolutely. And this principle, I think, we often think of it in terms of the negative, the things we want to avoid.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond that. Think
Yeah.
about qualities you admire in others.
Right.
Maybe someone's confidence or creativity really inspires you.
Right.
Well, that's a reflection too.
Interesting.
It means those qualities are within you, just waiting to be nurtured and expressed.
Wow.
So I think it's a really cool thing to consider, what positive traits in others really resonate with you.
Yeah.
You might be surprised at what you discover about yourself.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about recognizing the good in ourselves, using the challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another really key takeaway from Living in the Light.
Okay.
And this one is integrating spirit and form.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this might sound a little out there, but stick with us because it's actually really practical when you get down to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how would you explain spirit and form?
Well, Gawain describes spirit as our higher self, that spark of universal energy within us.
Okay.
And then form is basically our physical body and personality, how we express ourselves in this material world.
Gotcha.
And so it's not about seeing these two as separate or conflicting forces,
Right.
but really about creating harmony between the two.
And I love that Gawain is really honest about her own journey with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the book, she shares her experience with open relationships.
Right.
And, intellectually, she thought it really aligned with her spiritual ideals.
Yeah.
But emotionally, her form
Right.
was craving deeper intimacy and commitment.
Yeah.
And she had to acknowledge that need,
Yeah.
even though it didn't necessarily fit neatly into her initial belief system.
And that's such a good point, because I think so often we think of integration as this
Right.
we got to achieve this perfect balance.
Overnight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Not your fingers.
it's not about that at all. It's a process.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. It takes time. It takes continual self-reflection.
It's about being true to ourselves in every aspect,
Exactly.
which leads us to another really big theme in the book. And that's learning to trust our intuition. Those gut feelings that we often try to ignore or talk ourselves out of?
Oh, absolutely. And, we're kind of conditioned to do that
We are.
by society, be logical, think things through. And sometimes we overthink ourselves into a corner.
Totally.
But Gawain, she's really arguing that our intuition is a powerful source of wisdom
Okay.
if we can learn to listen to it.
It's like tuning into that quiet inner voice
Yes.
that already knows what's best for us.
Exactly.
But how do we do that, practically speaking, when life gets so noisy?
Right. Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It's like finding that peaceful center amidst all the chaos. Once you find it, how do you act on it? What are some practical tips?
Yeah, first just making a habit to check in with yourself throughout the day. Just pause, take a few deep breaths, and just ask, what am I feeling right now? What's my gut telling me?
Okay.
And then second, learn to recognize the energy of your intuition.
Oh, so?
It's usually calmer, quieter, and more grounded
Yeah.
than like those other voices in our heads.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the worriers, the doubters, the people pleasers.
Right. Those voices can be so loud.
Oh, tell me about it.
So it's about finding that quieter voice.
Yeah.
One that's coming from a place of peace.
Exactly.
And then trusting that that's your intuition speaking.
Yeah.
So once you start to recognize it more, how do you actually act on it?
Well, Gawain suggests starting with small, low-stakes decisions.
Okay.
You know, like follow a hunch about which route to take home.
Okay.
Try that new recipe you've been eyeing, that kind of thing.
Little things.
Yeah, exactly. And then as you start to see your intuition guide you well in those smaller situations, you build trust in it.
Right.
And it makes it easier to follow when bigger decisions come along.
Like flexing that intuitive muscle.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so we're talking about trusting our intuition.
Yeah.
And now get ready for this one, because this is another fascinating concept from Living in the Light.
Yeah.
The male and female within.
Yes.
So what is that all about?
So this is where Gawain gets into the importance of integrating our internal masculine and feminine energies.
Okay.
And this applies to everyone, by the way.
Okay.
Regardless of gender identity.
So it's not about like conforming to societal expectations
No.
of like what's masculine or feminine.
Exactly.
It's more about recognizing that we all possess both sets of qualities. Right. The assertive and the receptive, the logical and the intuitive, and setting that balance between those energies.
Yeah, and this balance or lack thereof, it really, I think, comes out in our relationships, you know?
Interesting. How so?
Well, you know, imagine someone who's overly identified with their masculine energy.
Oh.
They might struggle with vulnerability, expressing their emotions, asking for help.
Right.
And that can create an imbalance in the relationship, right?
Okay.
But if they can tap into that feminine energy, allow themselves to be more receptive, more open,
Yeah.
it can lead to greater harmony.
It's like finding that dance between giving and receiving, leading and following.
Exactly.
And it's not always easy.
No, it's not. And it can be a process for sure.
And speaking of, different perspectives and approaches, Gawain tells this funny story in the book
Oh, yeah.
about a group of Western tourists and a group of locals at an Indian bazaar.
Oh, I love that story.
And the tourists were all drawn to like the handcrafted goods.
Yeah.
And the locals were more interested in like the practical plastic items.
Yeah.
And it's just this funny way of illustrating that,
Yeah.
different perspectives and approaches, like masculine and feminine energies, they all have their own unique value and appeal.
Absolutely. It's not about saying one is better than the other.
Right.
It's about finding the balance that works for us
For you.
as individuals and in our relationships.
And sometimes that means stepping outside of our comfort zone.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to do that.
Embracing aspects of ourselves that maybe we've been taught to suppress.
Totally.
Love that. Okay, so speaking of embracing different aspects of ourselves,
Yeah.
let's talk about a topic that I know can bring up a lot of mixed emotions for people,
Okay.
and that's money.
Ah, yes. Money.
We can't escape it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's something that we often see as separate from our personal growth.
Yeah.
But Gawain actually presents a really interesting perspective in Living in the Light.
Okay.
She suggests that money is actually a form of energy,
Okay.
and that our relationship with money reflects our overall energy flow.
That's a cool way to think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if our energy is blocked or stagnant,
Yeah.
our finances might reflect that.
That makes sense.
But if we're aligned with our true selves and we're taking inspired action, our financial abundance will naturally increase.
Right. It's not about chasing the money
No.
or forcing things to happen. It's about trusting that when we're living in alignment with our purpose,
Right.
the universe will provide.
And trusting that we're worthy of abundance.
Yes.
In all areas of our lives.
Exactly.
And you know what I think really brings this concept to life is a story that Gawain shares in the book
Okay.
about buying a property in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
And she followed her intuition.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't make logical sense at the time.
Oh.
And she actually ended up losing money on the deal.
Wow.
But she realized later that she had been guided to get that property to the right owners.
Wow.
It was never really about her making a profit.
Yeah.
It was about being a part of something larger than herself.
That's amazing. I love that story. It's such a good example of trusting the process.
It is.
Even when it gets messy or it doesn't make sense. Because, the universe works in mysterious ways.
It does.
And sometimes what seems like a setback
Right.
is actually setting us up for something even greater.
Totally.
It's about surrendering to that flow and trusting that everything is unfolding as it should.
I love that. So we're talking about trusting the flow, surrendering to the journey.
Mm-hmm.
That actually ties into another idea from Living in the Light that really resonated with me.
Okay.
And that is finding the joy in the journey.
Oh, I love that.
Even the parts that feel like work.
Yes. Gawain, she challenges us to rethink this idea
Right.
that work has to be this dreadful thing that we endure to earn a living.
Right.
She's like, what if work was an expression of our passions, our unique gifts?
Right.
A way to contribute something meaningful to the world.
I love that. Yeah. It's about finding that sweet spot where what we love to do aligns with what the world needs.
Exactly.
But how do we even begin to find that?
Right.
Especially if we're stuck in a job that feels draining or unfulfilling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the big question, right? And I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
Like really asking yourself, what truly lights me up? What activities make me lose track of time?
Yeah.
What did I love to do as a child?
I love that question.
Right.
What did you love to do as a child?
Oh, man, so many things. I was like,
Before we told ourselves what we should be doing.
Exactly. And I think those early passions, they hold clues
Yeah.
to our true calling, even if they seem impractical on the surface.
Totally. Like, who cares if you were obsessed with, I don't know, collecting bugs when you were 5?
Exactly.
There's something there.
Exactly. And as you start exploring those passions, even in small ways, you'll likely feel a shift in your energy.
Okay.
You might feel more alive, more inspired.
Right, like more yourself.
Exactly. And that energy, it can open up new possibilities, new connections.
Yeah.
New ways of expressing yourself in the world.
It's like that saying, do what you love and the money will follow.
Right.
But it's not just about the money, is it?
No, it's not.
It's about finding that deep sense of purpose and fulfillment that comes from aligning with our soul's path.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're here to create, to contribute, to experience joy in all areas of our lives.
Including our work.
Exactly.
I love that. And that brings us to another really key principle from Living in the Light.
Okay.
And that is embracing the present moment.
Oh, yes. That's a big one.
Right. Because it's so easy to get caught up.
Oh, tell me about it.
In regrets about the past, worries about the future.
Yeah.
And Gawain reminds us that the only moment we truly have control over is the present.
It's true. And it's so cliche, but it's so easy to forget.
It is. So how do we do that? How do we shift our focus from what was or what might be to what is?
Right. And I think it's a practice. You know, it's not like you just suddenly become present.
Yeah.
But when we can bring our attention to the present moment, we open ourselves up to a deeper appreciation for the simple joys in life.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, a warm breeze, a good conversation, the feeling of sunshine on our skin.
Those small moments of joy.
Yes.
They can be so powerful when we actually allow ourselves to experience them.
They really can.
But what about those times when it feels really hard to be present?
Yeah.
Like when we're dealing with stress, anxiety, difficult emotions?
Yeah. What do we do then?
Right, because it's easy to say be present, but
exactly.
How do we actually do it?
And Gawain, you know what she suggests.
What's that?
Instead of resisting those challenging emotions, try to approach them with curiosity and compassion. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to teach me? What message does it have for me?
It's about viewing those emotions not as enemies to be conquered, but as messengers with valuable insights.
Exactly. And as we learn to listen to those messages, we create space for healing and growth.
It's about befriending all parts of ourselves.
Yes.
Even the parts that make us uncomfortable. It's about wholeness.
Yes.
Embracing all aspects of who we are.
Yeah.
Which, now that I think about it, that connects back to that idea of integrating our masculine and feminine energies.
It does. It all ties together.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
I love that. And speaking of connection, let's talk about another really important theme in Living in the Light. And that's relationships. Because our relationships are not separate from our personal growth journey.
They're a huge part of it.
They're an integral part of it.
Yeah.
They're like mirrors, reflecting back to us our own patterns, beliefs, and behaviors.
It's true. And it can be uncomfortable sometimes.
It can be. But it's also like the best opportunity for growth, right?
It is.
So if we're constantly attracting unhealthy relationships, that might be a sign that there's some inner work that we need to do.
Absolutely. And Gawain, she really suggests that our relationships offer us these amazing opportunities to heal old wounds, challenge limiting beliefs, and step more fully into our authentic selves.
I love that.
Yeah.
And one of the key principles that she emphasizes is the importance of setting healthy boundaries in relationships.
Yes.
Boundaries are huge.
They are, because they're essential.
They are.
For creating healthy, respectful, and fulfilling relationships.
Yes. It's about communicating our needs and limits clearly and respectfully.
And that can be really challenging.
It can be, especially if you're someone who, tends to people pleaser or put others' needs before your own.
Totally. So how do we get better at setting boundaries? Well, I think it takes practice, but start by identifying your non-negotiables.
Okay.
What are the things you absolutely will not tolerate in a relationship?
Yeah.
And then practice communicating those boundaries assertively, but kindly.
It's about honoring our own needs.
Yes.
And our worthiness.
Absolutely.
Which can be so empowering.
It is.
And you know what else can be empowering?
What's that?
Learning to trust our intuition when it comes to relationships.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Our intuition can be such a powerful guide.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because it can guide us toward relationships that are aligned with our highest good.
Yeah.
And help us navigate challenges with more clarity and wisdom.
And you know what? Sometimes our bodies know what our minds haven't figured out yet.
It's so true.
You know what I mean? It's like paying attention to those gut feelings.
Yeah. That sense of expansion or contraction we feel when we're around certain people.
It's true. And as we learn to trust those intuitive nudges, we create space for more fulfilling and authentic connections.
It's about recognizing that we deserve to be surrounded by people who support our growth, celebrate our wins, and love us unconditionally.
Absolutely. Quirks and all.
Quirks and all. I love that.
Right.
Speaking of quirks, remember that story we talked about earlier about the tourists and the locals at the bazaar?
Oh, yeah.
That's such a good reminder that what one person finds valuable, another might not.
Totally.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's about embracing our differences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It makes life interesting.
Exactly.
If we were all the same, it would be so boring.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
Right. And that actually reminds me of another important theme in living in the light.
Okay, what's that?
Self-acceptance.
Oh, yes. That's a big one.
Because self-acceptance is the foundation of personal growth.
Absolutely.
It's about embracing ourselves fully.
Yes.
Flaws and all.
Flaws and all.
Recognizing that we are worthy of love and belonging just as we are.
And that can be a lifelong journey.
It can be, yeah.
It's not like you just wake up one day and you're like, I accept myself fully.
Right.
It's a practice.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process.
But as we cultivate self-compassion and acceptance, we create space for greater joy, peace, and fulfillment in our lives.
It's about recognizing that our imperfections are what make us unique and beautiful.
And as we embrace our own imperfections, we naturally become more compassionate and accepting of others.
It's a ripple effect, right?
It is.
Creating more love and acceptance in the world.
I love that.
One person at a time.
Yes.
One interaction at a time.
Beautiful.
And that reminds me of a really powerful image that Gawain uses in the book.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The decaying city being replaced by a shimmering new one.
Oh, yes. That's such a powerful image of transformation.
It is. What do you think she means by that?
Well, I think it speaks to the potential for transformation, not just within ourselves, but also in the world around us.
It's like this collective shift towards a more conscious and fulfilling way of being.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of this idea of interconnectedness.
Yes.
We're all connected.
We are.
And our individual journeys of personal growth
are not just about us.
Right. They have a ripple effect.
They do.
They impact the world around us.
Absolutely. And that's a really empowering thought, don't you think?
It is.
Our personal growth journeys are actually acts of service to the world.
So well said. It's like when we do the inner work.
Yeah.
We show up differently in the world.
We do. We inspire others to do the same.
And it creates this collective awakening.
Yes.
And it starts with each of us taking those small, courageous steps toward our own growth and evolution.
One step at a time.
One intuitive nudge at a time.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into living in the light.
We have.
We've talked about trusting our intuition, integrating our masculine and feminine energies.
Yeah. Embracing the present moment, setting healthy boundaries, finding joy in our work, cultivating self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one more key principle I want to touch on before we wrap things up.
Okay, what's that?
The power of gratitude.
Oh, yes. Gratitude is huge.
It's such a simple yet profound practice.
It really is.
It's about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we have.
Yeah.
From what's wrong to what's right.
From complaining to appreciating.
Exactly. It's about finding those things to appreciate, even amidst the challenges.
Exactly. Because there's always something to be grateful for.
There is, even if it's just like, having a roof over our heads.
Exactly.
Or a warm cup of tea.
It's the little things.
And you know what's amazing about gratitude?
What's that?
It actually shifts our energy.
It does.
When we focus on what we're grateful for, it opens our hearts.
Yes.
And it attracts more abundance into our lives.
It's like that saying, what you focus on expands.
I love that.
Right.
So if we're focusing on gratitude, we're naturally going to invite more things to be grateful for.
Absolutely. And it's not just about attracting material abundance.
Right.
Gratitude also enhances our well-being, reduces stress.
It does. It really does.
And strengthens our relationships.
It's like a superpower we all have access to.
I love that. I'm going to start calling it that.
Right.
The gratitude superpower.
Your gratitude superpower. And the best part is, it doesn't require any special skills or equipment.
Nope.
It's just a simple shift in perspective.
Exactly.
So as we're kind of, going into these final moments of our deep dive, let's take a moment to practice gratitude together.
I love that.
What are you grateful for right now, in this moment?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it could be something big or small.
Yeah.
Simple or profound. Just take a moment to really feel the gratitude in your heart.
What a beautiful way to end this part of our exploration.
Gratitude. Powerful stuff.
It is.
And speaking of powerful, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier that really stuck with me, that image from the book.
Yeah.
The decaying city being replaced by the shimmering new one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's such a powerful image.
It is.
And I think what's so compelling about it is that it speaks to the potential for transformation.
Yeah.
Not just within ourselves, but in the world around us too. So it's like, as more and more individuals embrace these principles.
Yeah.
Self-awareness, compassion, authenticity. It creates this ripple effect.
It does.
That inspires others to do the same.
Yeah, we become part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
And that idea of interconnectedness reminds me of another important theme in living in the light.
Okay.
And that's our relationship with the universe.
Okay.
Or source, or higher power, or whatever term resonates with you.
Right.
But Gawain, she really emphasizes that we're not separate from this universal energy.
We're a part of it.
We are.
It's like we're all connected to this invisible web.
Yes.
And our thoughts, feelings, actions, they're all having an impact.
On the whole.
On the whole web.
Exactly, exactly.
And so when we can align ourselves with that, with that universal energy, when we can trust in the flow of life, we open ourselves up to receiving guidance.
Yes.
Support, abundance, in ways that we might never have even imagined.
Yeah, it's about surrendering to something bigger than ourselves.
It is.
Trusting that we're exactly where we're meant to be.
Yeah, even when it doesn't feel like it.
Yes. Even when things are messy and uncertain.
Which, let's be honest, is a lot of the time.
Oh, most of the time, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she reminds us that we don't have to navigate it all on our own.
No, we don't.
We can tap into that universal wisdom, that loving guidance.
It's always there.
It's always available.
Yeah.
If we can just remember to tune in.
Yeah, it's like having an invisible co-pilot.
I love that.
Yeah. Guiding us towards our highest potential.
Yes.
But we have to be willing to listen.
Yes.
To trust.
To take those leaps of faith.
Yes, even when we can't see the whole staircase.
And sometimes those leaps of faith, they lead us in directions we never could have expected.
They do.
Right. Revealing hidden talents.
Yeah.
Passions.
Opportunities. It's about embracing the unknown, trusting that the journey itself is the destination.
I love that.
And as we move through that journey, as we learn, as we grow, as we evolve, we naturally inspire others to do the same.
We become beacons of light.
Yes.
Illuminating the path for others to find their own way.
And as more and more lights ignite, the world becomes a brighter, more vibrant place.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into living in the light, I want to leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
Your journey matters. Your light matters.
Yes.
You have the power within you to create a life that not only reflects your own brilliance, but also inspires others to shine their light even brighter.
I love that.
Trust your intuition. Embrace your power.
Yes.
And keep living in the light.
Beautifully said. The world needs your light.
Thank you so much for joining us on this illuminating deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep shining bright. Hey there, everyone. Ready to dive into a little personal growth magic today? We're taking a deep dive into Shakti Gawain's Living in the Light.
It's a good one.
It is. And I know a lot of you are interested in really tapping into that inner power.
Yes.
Creating a